everyone to another episode of Life Chat with Viv and Phil. We're so excited to have these men with us this week. When I heard about the title, "Let Us Make Men," what in our own image, or is just "Let Us Make Men"? This is just an exciting title for a book, and I really was really intrigued that 38 black men got together and wrote this book, Vilma. 38, not
Yep.
not one, but 38 of them got together, wanted to inspire individuals. So we like, look, we have to get these guys on our show to talk about this awesome book. So, men, welcome, and please introduce yourself to our audience and let them know a little bit about you before we jump right into this book.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I guess I will take the lead. I want to thank you all for inviting us to share our, the stories from our book. My name is Melvin. I'm a family man, wife, 2 kids, in real estate. And I had the opportunity to be an author of this book through my mentor, who's actually on the panel, Anwar. So he reached out and said, "Hey, we're putting together something unique, something huge that we think would be very inspirational and help our young man, our black man." And you came in mind. So I was honored, and I said, "Why not? Any opportunity to share, any opportunity to reach back to the younger or even the older generation, it's an opportunity." So that's why I'm here, and I'm honored to share with y'all. So I will pass the baton to, since I already mentioned his name, I'll give it to Anwar.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Brother Melvin. My name is Anwar Miller, and I am a father, husband of 20 years, father of 3, as a matter of fact. And a background was engineering, but I kind of went on and did some things in a computer software space, worked for some Silicon Valley companies, and then started my own business as well that I've been building in parallel. So just super excited and super passionate about trying to really and share any wisdom or my experiences that I've gathered over the years to other brothers, and at the same time learn from other brothers. So was just super excited about working on this book, and has been incredibly excited about seeing it come to fruition and now being available to the public.
Oh, wonderful.
What about you, Marco?
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? First, I just want to say thank you all for allowing me to be a part of the panel tonight podcast episode. So my name is Marco Robinson. I'm a recent graduate from Delaware State University. I majored in mass communications with a concentration in convergence journalism. I had the opportunity to be a part of the book because my good friend and brother, he's probably one of my closest friends, Corbin Witherspoon. I believe his mom is the publisher of the book, Dr. Witherspoon. So he asked me to be a part of the book because he knows that I like to write, so on and so forth. And that's how I had the opportunity to be a part of Let Us Make a Man.
Good. Great.
Okay. Thanks again for the invite, ladies. Appreciate it. My name is Dr. James Daniels III. I am an educator by day, entrepreneur by night. I have a wife, 2 children, wonderful children. So when I'm not, pretty much working in the schools, I'm out taking pictures and filming and everything like that, which is essentially, I guess, what led me to being a part of the book. I definitely wasn't too sure at first because I was like, oh man, I got a lot on plate as is, but I definitely, once Dr. Weatherspoon, I'll say, convinced me to take part in it, I was able to get not just knowledge to give of what I've experienced through life, but also learn, as they've stated before, from 37 other gentlemen, because, I believe I am a man, but there's always something new that we can learn. So I'm a life learner.
Great.
So, 38 men got together. So, what was the purpose, what's the essence behind the name of the book and the creation of this project?
Yeah, I can take that one. So You know, Dr. Weatherspoon has been a great friend of mine. She had published a book previously called Love Letters to My Girls. And she had a ton of women come together and basically write a letter to encourage other women. And the project was extremely successful. And she wanted to do something similar for Black men. Love Letters to My Guys didn't seem like it would necessarily be the title that would make it fly off the shelf. But in all reality, she came to me and she said, "Hey, I want a man, a Black man, to lead up this project. You know, and obviously I know you and your background. Why don't we partner up to do this?" And you know, I immediately accepted. And as we were just discussing the title, "Let Us Make a Man," really it just, you know, I was inspired. It came to me. I was inspired by the scripture, "Let us make a man in our image and after our likeness." And so the scripture from Genesis. So that inspired me. So even though it wasn't a religious book in nature, that's the first thing that the Spirit said, "Hey, this is the book." And really the us in "Let Us Make a Man" is brothers, right? And so, you know, we can read a book about the Kobe Bryant or the Jay-Z, you know, or the Reginald Lewis, and all these are famous and incredible people, but a little bit untouchable for us, right? But the philosophy here is that we can have a book written by us, for real brothers that they can reach out to, that they can touch, that they can relate to, and not these super successful hero kind of brothers. And they're fine too, and those stories are great as well. But and when we look, there was no book of its kind that ever existed. And so again, let us make a man. If we could pour our wisdom into another brother, what will we say? If we can pour our own wisdom into our younger selves, what will we say? If we can pour our wisdom into our older selves, what will we say? So we are the us, and let us make a man. That was the inspiration, and where the book came from. And then from that scripture, actually, it began to the chapters of the book unfolded in the way that we constructed the chapters came from what is the ingredients of a Black man. And if you look at the ingredients of a Black man, can we write about each one of those ingredients and those components? And so we went out and searched for 38 Black men that was successful in different areas of their life, whether it was their health, whether it's their family, whether it's their career, because success is not just a monetary thing, but success is a holistic success, right? What kind of contributions have they made to our community? And we pulled those brothers together and said, we want you to take and write, you know, about one of these ingredients based on your experience. And that's how the 38 brothers came together. And that's how the construction of the book came to be.
Okay. So are there 38 chapters or just 38 different things you wrote about and, you know, put them under various chapters? How many chapters are there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's 4 sections to the book. And then, you know, to kind of go into the ingredients, right? In that scripture, if you read the scripture, and again, it's not a religious book, but it was inspired by that. It says, "Let us make a man in our image," right? And so the image is like, okay, what does that mean? That's the character of man, right? So one of the sections became righteousness, right? Because now under that section of reflect righteousness, how do you reflect the character? And so underneath reflect righteousness is several topics. And so, for example, one of the topics is reflect godliness, demonstrate strong character, manage your attitude. So the brothers would take one of the topics under that section. Another section was, and if you're familiar with the description, you know, and let them have dominion over the birds and the sea and the animals. So one of the other sections is exercise your dominion, right? So underneath exercise your dominion are several topics, and each one of the brothers chose a topic. And so that was, you know, exercise dominion is about mission and about vision and authority and servant leadership and accountability. And so that's where the topics for that came. And I'll just kind of round it out by saying the other 2 was be prosperous, right? Let us multiply, right? And so what is being prosperous? And so there were certain topics under being prosperous that the brothers took a topic and wrote about that. And the last one was community, right? And I say community because when we say exercise dominion, you know, dominion, some people misconceive that dominion is really about like empowering or overtaking someone, but it's really about being a servant. And it really is about replenishing and uniting with your community. So we pulled out community as its own section. And so that was about how do we, topics like how should we relate to the Black woman, right? Family, united with one another. And so the topics came from there. So each one of the 38 brothers wrote on one of the topics. So we have 38 topics organized under those 4 sections.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense. Now, tell me something. 38 men. how did you manage 38 men getting things to you on time when they needed to? What, give me the dirt. Was it easy?
I think one of the things, and I love for Dr. James or Brother Melvin to speak to this as well. I think we laid out an agenda from the beginning. First of all, we cast a vision, right? And I think that, it says if you write down a vision and make it plain, then essentially the people will follow it, right? And I think when we cast that vision, and then we wrote down what the agenda or what the timeline for the project would be, and what our mission was for this project, I really think the brothers got enrolled in the mission of the project. And now they understood their commitments up front. And we all get busy. These were all very, very successful brothers in their own right. And so I think, reminders and checkpoints, throughout the project helped us to keep things on track. And we always had a little leniency, right? So, maybe something was due December 15th, and then we stretched it to like January 8th. So we pushed our timelines a little bit, but we didn't push our timelines until we got to the deadline. But we kind of built that in a little bit. But Melvin or Dr. James or Marco, I'd love for you guys to speak to that on the other side of things.
I could go. So like for myself, I'm really big on creating deadlines. So if I knew that I had a specific item that needed to be turned in, for instance, I think there was a portion where we had to review the edits that were made to each particular chapter. I would just always create deadlines, and I have a top 5 list of 5 things that I desire to do every single day. So a part of that, on my top 5 list, I would have, make sure that I check in for Let's Make Us Men or send in my picture on this particular day, just so that it's in my mind that I have to get it done.
Oh, Brother Marco, I gotta follow your lead on that. So that was I started cracking up when Wilma, you asked that question, because my topic was accountability, and I was the one being chased for stuff, jokingly by by Anwar to the last minute, because I'm that type of dude in college where I wait to the last minute, the night before, to write the paper. So talking about deadlines, I don't meet deadlines quite nicely, I think Anwar would say, but as he said, they had structures in order to keep us in sync and make sure that we were delivering when we needed to. So that was very good that they did that. And obviously some of the other brothers too were checking in, vice versa. Hey, have you submitted your chapter yet and whatnot? So that was good on their part.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on that. It was I think with working with the end goal in mind, Dr. Sharita demands pretty much excellence with everything that she does. So I worked with her on the entrepreneur side with photo and video. So I definitely know that she'll send out all the reminders. And I do believe that having the group with everyone getting the messages, frequent text messages, reminders, that really helped us out. And then, of course, even if you didn't know, brother, it was almost like the accountability started to build up more and more amongst us, because as we bought into the vision, as we continued to buy into the mission of it, it just made more sense that you wanted to get this project into the hands of someone that you knew, this person could benefit from it. So that definitely, those constant reminders really did help, especially around those holidays. But it was definitely a great opportunity, a great time.
So how long did this project take to complete?
The beautiful thing about having 38 brothers, we all are part of one body, right? But we play different parts and different roles. See, if it was left to me to write the book, I'd still be on chapter 1, right? So the fact that it was 38 and we was able to take our piece and focus on our piece, I think that's what made it go really, really fast. And it wasn't as intimidating because you just had your piece, your topic to write about, and you can write about that in depth. But if you had like 5 topics, that could be overwhelming. So everybody just had one topic. So I think it went smoothly. We started the project in October. We really started recruiting the brothers, I would say, about October. We recruited gentlemen over the course of about 45 days. And then we had them confirm their participation in the book, sign the author agreement of being a contributor. of the book. And then really the first draft of their publication was due in January. That was one of the timelines that moved from December to January, which was fine. I was happy with that myself. And then they had to edit and submit their final reviews. So really, and then, March, the first versions of the book was really complete. And it was just a matter of, kind of going through the back end production stuff to get it done. So I would say in total, when you look at the fact that we're shipping, that the pre-release is in the beginning of May, that is what, 7 months from conception to writing, execution, and really delivery. It took about 7 months.
Mm-hmm. I think it's such a great concept, and you mentioned something that I thought about is not being intimidating. And for those of you who are probably first time authors, it really helped you. So the next time you will easily want to write a book by yourself or just two of you together. But I think it is such a great concept of having everybody put their input to make this book, because you could have said, you know what, I'll just talk to you, I'll just survey you, I'll just interview you, I'll get your ideas and I'll put it in for myself because I need the credit. But you guys, the beautiful thing, you gave credit to 38 Black men. And I'm excited, in the sense that we have good Black men out there. And I want the world to know. I want those of you who are listening to understand that we have good Black men who do good things, who do incredible things, right? And you cannot bundle the wrong of one or two to cover our Black men. And not only are they intelligent and doing good things, but they're handsome too. Yeah, it's just
we'll take that. And Vilma, I would say, to echo what you said there, is that the fact that it was 38 brothers, Black men, who wrote a certain topic. Each topic will have a unique tone, right. And when readers read it, they may relate to the writing style or the tone of one of the brothers in his topic, and maybe not another. So by having 38 of us, it's different voices really speaking out to our brothers, and our brothers are able to hear different voices that they can relate to, instead of just having one person write the whole thing, where the whole book would have taken on a certain tone. We now have many voices that can speak out and resonate with brothers at their frequency of receiving that message. So I think that's why I'm really excited about getting it out there. I think, I think it will really resonate because of so many voices that they will hear in that book.
Yeah, and I think that and speaking with what you're saying, Anwar, I think in their recruitment of other brothers, it was great to get so many different perspectives, because I think that that book could go into the hands of many different young brothers that are seeking to better themselves, and it can meet them where they are, regardless of what page you turn to or what topic you're looking at. Somebody can find something that they can relate to and grab a hold of.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Who wants to start talking about their specific topic and what they wrote about?
I could go first. So for myself, my topic was authority, and in my part of the book, I talked about really honoring authority so that you can have authority. In my opinion, I think that there are so many people that go into environments thinking that they should automatically dominate or control the room or have say so over what is happening. But I think that it's always important to be sensitive to the needs of the area and, be respectful to the people that are overseeing you and the people that are leading you. Because when you have the ability to show that, you're honoring the vision of the leader or the person that is overseeing you, then I think that they will give you a little bit of grace and leeway to start making decisions of your own. So that's basically what my topic was about. And I had a good time writing about it because I was able to pull from my own personal experiences, and it also challenged my way of thinking to one, hold myself accountable in the future, so that when I go into other environments, I could practice the same thing that I wrote down on paper.
And what is your definition of authority that you wrote in the book?
So authority is the ability, in my opinion, to honor the vision of someone that's over you. And then in you doing that, you're then given the ability to have access or have ownership or control over specific things just by honoring what was given to you or having a level of respect.
Let's go to Dr. Daniels.
Oh, sure. Okay, so my topic that I got the privilege to write on was elevating the Black woman, and I've been married for 12 years, and I have an amazing wife. So with each thing that I write, with regard to, I do a lot of poetry. So everything that I write is pretty much pulling inspiration from our relationship and just the amazing person that she is. And I thought about when I was dating, before meeting my wife, the things that I wanted to know about women in advance. So that way I could court them accordingly. I could treat them correctly. I could basically learn as much as I possibly could that would make my chances better in finding a wife. And I thought that, you know what, somebody else could use this. And I took my love of poetry and ideations with that and tried to kind of construct basically a mindset, as well as a laundry list of things that you need to be able to do to the Black woman to elevate her, to put her on the pedestal that she deserves to be on. Just loving her, caring for her, security, pretty much all the things that a woman would ask you for normally, but just making sure that you realize that as a Black woman, she's been undervalued and underappreciated for so long that it's important for you to recognize that history, but make sure that her future is the complete opposite. So I felt a little poetic for a second, so glad I could stop.
That's interesting, though. I would like to hear one thing that you said that a woman needs. Share with
I
us
said
one
that
thing.
so for my personal experiences, I know that a woman definitely needs her love language spoken. So it is up to you as the man to make sure that you find out what that love language is. And it's not a matter of necessarily speaking it here and there. It's a daily act. So, my wife likes gifts. It's her number two love language, but I know that her first one is physical touch. I'm sorry. So I make sure that she gets a hug every day. I make sure that she gets a kiss every day. I make sure that I give her little trinkets here and there. And I'm glad that she's not a very, very expensive gift type of person. I really appreciate that. But I try to make sure that those love languages are spoken every day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. And for me, my topic was on accountability. And what I mean by accountability in perspective as one, being accountable to myself, right, in terms of goals and actions. For example, as James was saying, in terms of marriage, I got to hold myself accountable for the actions that I take every day. That outside of being accountable to myself, family comes in play. So I have a wife, I have kids, I have an extended family that I got to hold myself accountable to, in terms of making sure that there's food, there's somewhere for them to stay, so on. And then outside of that is the the neighborhood, or to say community. That's the word I'm looking for. I got to hold myself accountable to the community. So especially in these times with everything going on, with racism and whatnot, we have to, as Black men, have to be on a different stepping stone than other people. We have to portray a certain image, so that we are not, quote unquote, put into the common stereotype. So I wrote it from the perspective of being accountable in all those phases of our life as Black men.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So my topic was focused on growth. And as it relates to growth, we have to be intentional about where we want to go and how we want to get there. Nothing happens by accident. And so we need to be intentional about growth and growing in every area of our lives. And so my topic was about, number one, recognizing the difference between growth and swelling, right? So when you look at, I always kind of equate things to the physical world. When you look at, weightlifting, for example, right? If you punch me in my arm, it'll swell, but that's not growth. It got bigger, but that's not growth, right? But it's only when I'm lifting that muscle and I'm going past my breaking point over a long period of time that the muscle will break and fix, and actually will actually grow. And so you have to look at the difference between swelling and growing. And some people that, for example, when someone wins the lottery, in that case, there's a financial swelling that has taken place. So they haven't necessarily created the discipline to create wealth. And this is why the majority of people who win the lottery and win millions of dollars, I think 90% of them or so go bankrupt within 5 years. And that's because they haven't developed the discipline for the wealth that they've attained. It just swole. And so when things swell, eventually they go back to the shape that they were in and they lose that wealth. And so it really is about, focusing on growth and being intentional about it, looking at your daily disciplines and having a growth plan for your health, a growth plan for your finances, a growth plan for your relationships, a growth plan for your spiritual life. And then looking at that growth plan and saying, what is it that I need to do every single day that moves me towards ultimately where I want to end up from a growth perspective. So that's really what I really wanted to focus on for brothers, is just continue to grow in areas and be intentional and look at those areas and focus on growing.
Good, wonderful. Now, on your website, it talks about friend, father, husband, brother, leader, king. Now, were you saying that these are various roles that you play as men, and you need to stand in the power of any of these roles that you find yourself in? Is that pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the silent us, right? And who we are as Black men is
Right.
that we do all play different roles at different stages, and we may not all play the same role, right? And so I'm a father at the same time that I'm a brother, at the same time that I'm a husband, and I'm a leader at the same time that I'm a servant, right? And so we have to understand that there is no king crown that you put on and I am the man. It really is, we have different slices of roles that we play. And we need to understand our roles, and we need to own each one of those roles and understand how to relate within our own roles. So that was really the part of the reason why we called it out, that to understand the multiple faceted roles that we play as men. And it's dynamic and it's fluid, because we might go from role to role at different points in our lives, and we need to learn how to operate in those roles. And it's interesting too, because at one point you may, let's just say when you're younger, you can look at the book and get one thing from it. But when you're older and you're in a different stage and a different role, now you can go back to that book. So it's not a book that you read cover to cover. It's really a book that is almost a reference guide for you. So at different points in your role, different points in your experience and your maturity, the book will still be relevant in every aspect of your life.
Mm-hmm. So, at what point do you become king?
At what point do you become king? That's a good question. I have an opinion on that, and I would probably defer to my brothers to see what they would say. But as I believe that we constantly are growing and we constantly should grow, there's no concept of becoming king, because the minute you arrived is the minute you stop listening, right? So all of a sudden, if I arrive and the 12-year-old or the 16-year-old brother comes to me that may have a perspective, some wisdom, if I arrived, I may not listen to what he said because I'm king, but there may be an experience that the youth can teach me. There may be experience that my elders can teach me. And so I don't believe that there is a place where we ever be king. I think at any point we may be stewards of the kingship. So if we are leaders in some capacity, we're steward of that seat. We're not the owners of it. So that's my opinion. I don't think we ever quite arrive. And I think we need to maintain that level of humility in the roles that we play in life.
Excellent answer. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I would say, well, if you come with me to Ghana, where I'm from, I could certainly, for the guys, I could certainly get you in a kinship. That, those opportunities are there. So that's just a side joke. But I think I agree with everything that Anwar said. It's just kind of being humble, knowing that you haven't arrived, and the whole concept of kin. Um, Depending on who is looking at it, one person can look at a kinship from a humility perspective, where they're looking at themselves that, hey, I recognize my position, in the world, in the job, or at the house, but I'm not going to use that to take advantage of people. Whereas someone else would take advantage of it to say, I see myself as a kin, maybe in terms of monetary, I have a lot of money, or I hold a higher position. So I'm going to look down on the people that are beneath me. But I think for us with this book, as Black men, we're looking at it from a kinship in terms of just, reaching back out to help the other one, the younger ones, or the people that are looking for some answers, to say, hey, we have something for you that we think can help you in your life. So pick it up and, read it and share with other people that may be looking for some guidance or direction also.
Okay, thank you.
So, Anwar, talk a little bit about you mentioned it a little bit about Dominion and the community. So I know right now, like Marco said, with the authority, well, he's talking about authority. And that's something that's really on my heart this year, trying to tone in into authority and what that all entail. So with the things that's going on right now in society with the police and different things like that. Now talk a little bit about how you guys using this book as a guide to help people within the community dealing with authority and dealing with your dominion. Talk a little bit about that. I know it's a full
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think my slice on that would again, in looking at the word dominion, I talked about being a protector, right? So when you have dominion over something, you're a steward over it, you're a protector of it, right? And it's your role, and you're accountable to it actually. So all of these things converge. And when we talk about the attack on our community, right? There's different ways that we need to exercise our dominion over that community. And it may not we go fight, but it does mean to protect the people in our community. That is, again, when we say things happen when our brothers are being slaughtered in the streets by those that consider themselves the authority of our community, we have to speak up against it. We have to push back on that. We cannot allow that to happen. And we need to look at the multifaceted problem that has created an environment by which someone can come into our community and exercise really unchecked authority over our community, right? So I think when we recognize that we're the ones that's supposed to have dominion over our community as Black men, and it was given to us at the very beginning of our assignment in our existence. At the beginning of our existence, that was assignment given to us as Black men. So a badge doesn't necessarily make you automatically the person that has authority and dominion over our community. Neither does a title, but it's our natural given right as Black men to exercise dominion and protection and stewardship over our community. Sometimes that means embracing the victims of our community, right? And supporting them when they fall down. And when they're in circumstances that, maybe there's a financial deficit going on in their household or something like that, we want to be stewards and help them in that way. So I think in the light of everything that happened with George Floyd, it means for us that we can't stay silent. We have to speak up. We need to protect, and we need to make sure that we're being good stewards over that community.
Yeah, and I think that's really good because if we, I think we had a show before talking about the case of George Floyd a couple of times, and we had about 4 brothers on. And the thing is, they were talking about how we really need to get together. And that's why I really love the fact that 38 of you guys got together, because in numbers, we can able to make an impact. And with you guys coming together, not just for this project, but coming together with an end goal. You mentioned your vision. You didn't tell us what the vision was, but an end goal of saying, hey, how can we change our community? How can we change society, their thought, our people's mindset, and start reframing it to another way of thinking, another way. And I love the fact too that you have a younger generation, an older generation, so you cover all spectrum of generation when it comes to this project. So, I really, just talk to us a little bit about the vision of where you guys seem to take this to another level, because this can be a platform on itself, or a whole, I already see a vision myself where it can be. But anyway, but go ahead, talk about your vision.
Yeah, I think, I think, and Brother James spoke about this a little bit. Even as we engaged in a project, the vision expanded beyond what we even initially thought. And I think we need to give room for the vision to continue to grow. And I think to some degree, just like as we came up with the title of the book, in my opinion, I believe that all vision comes from the creator, right? And so I wouldn't even say it was even my vision, right? I would say it was his vision. And so I was inspired by the title, and then all the construction of the title. But in recognizing that the vision didn't come from me, the vision could continue to change and morph and grow as he speaks to me and as he speaks to the rest of the brothers. So our initial, vision that we still hold now, still giving it room to grow, is that I believe without a shadow of a doubt that as Black men, we grew up, and many of us, and I can't speak for all of us, but many of us, we didn't necessarily have a strong Black man in our life that we can learn from as an example. And so there was kind of spots. It's so funny because you kind of have spots of Black men in your life, and one or two Black men that you happen to get engaged with in your life at some point, I find that a lot of brothers, that person for that small engagement had the biggest impact on their life. It was like I didn't have any Black teachers except for one Black man, and he was the most impactful and influential person in my life, not just in school, but in my life. And then I encountered another Black man later on in life, and he was inspiration in helping me start businesses and things like that. And so it's like we need more exposure of Black men. We need Black young men to be exposed to more Black men like us, that we are out there and that we can give wisdom and we can impact them. So the book is just one form of exposure, saying, hey, we're here. Here's stories that you can relate to, that you can read. Here's wisdom that you can learn. But really the vision is about, being able to be present in their schools and speak to them and stand up. And, we're all kind of working on our own goals and our own family and our own careers, but we all recognize the need to pull back and say we have to give back to our community. So it's like, how can we step up into the schools and show the brothers that we're here and spend a little bit of time with them? How can we step up in our community? How can we take not just the book as one platform, but we can look at social media as a platform to expose this message. We can look at videos, we can look at Twitter. And so we're giving room for the vision to expand. But the core vision is to try to touch the lives of Black men in some way and plant a seed in them that can germinate and grow and really transform their life. And so we want to get this book and this message in as many people's hands as we possibly can. But I'd love to hear from some of the other brothers, because I'm sure that as they got involved in this project, God began to speak to them about their part and giving them ideas of where we can take it even beyond some of the things that we might have thought of prior to having them getting engaged in a project.
Right. And as a person who works in K to 12, the educational system is definitely needed. It's definitely necessary. And the beauty of it is that when the initial book project was created, I think that they left a lot of room open for that vision to expand. No boundaries, no ceiling, just giving it the opportunity to organically grow. And as all the chapters, all of the topics, and all of the men from various backgrounds and age ranges came together, that essentially started to expand it, not necessarily in like a circle, but just kind of expanding off in different directions. I think it's amazing that we have college educated young men. We have young men literally saying, you know what, I can lend, based on my experience, some wisdom that can help the person that didn't get this type of wisdom that's coming up after me. And then we have the older gentleman who, in my mind, I feel like when an older man speaks, you listen because there's something to be learned in anything that they say. It could be riddled with comedy or it could just be a stern message, but there's a lesson in it. And I know for myself, initially, of course, my topic was just elevating the Black woman. And I can tell you millions of stories about the students I've encountered over the years that I know need that chapter alone. So, but when I started to see the other topics, that encouraged me to say, well, let me introduce them to this as well. I need them to know that they have authority in their neighborhood because they're coming from some pretty rough areas. I need them to know that they have dominion. I need them to know that they have to be accountable to their neighborhoods. They have to be accountable to their parents, their families, and most importantly, themselves because as stated earlier, you never truly arrive. And I think that's why I love the title saying make a man, because you're consistently making yourself to be a better person or a better version of you. You're being recreated each and every day. And I dare I say, with each and every topic, each and every section, you're being recreated as well because your mindset's being challenged. And we learn through challenge and I think that's all the more reason why I stay in the K to 12 realm because of projects like this that keep coming and re-inspiring me to want to keep working with this population. Because I work with alternative education youth, and they deal with a lot of struggles each and every day. And something like this is something I can't wait to bring up next year in our ELA class and kind of low key force my English teacher to teach it. But just I want to show them that there are men who are out here doing work, they're making a difference, and they're not doing it just by music or sports. They're actually doing it in their regular 9 to 5 jobs or their entrepreneur spaces or in college. So I really love the fact that our vision is continuously growing. And it's almost to a point where it's like, okay, this was the level 1 of the vision. Well, I think we're at level 7 or 8 now. So we need to find out what all that entails and then keep continuing to push it forward, which is why I'm greatly appreciating you guys allowing us to use your platform to promote such a powerful message.
Yep.
So are any of you gentlemen mentors?
Yes. So it starts with the church. Sure, everybody, because I know Anwar, we go to the same church. So I do mentor and work with our youth. And then, of course, I've been mentoring since 18 because of an older gentleman who it started off being forced. He made me mentor. And then I started to say, you know what, I can offer something to
Yeah.
some people. So let me keep trying. And I got mentees from a couple years younger than me all the way down to 11 and 12. So it's definitely something that I'd love to continue to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say on that topic is in fact this is one of the things that we talked about. We had on our virtual book launch, and some of the brothers we talked about this on the panel. Is that I think sometimes as Black men, and we especially that are really progressive, we aspire to a certain level of what we consider a success. And like you said, success is this elusive thing that do you really ever attain it, right? It's the you always are pursuing it, and so there's always next. And if you're a brother like me to have 3 kids, you're always doing something to try to make sure that you are setting up a life for your children, for your family. And so I found that as I was pursuing sort of my own interests and my own goals, that I wasn't giving back that Sankofa. I wasn't, even though it was in the back of my mind, I wasn't actively mentoring other young brothers because at some point I thought like I needed to arrive first, right? And you don't always feel like you have something to offer. But I learned later in life, I would say that, really just having a 30-minute conversation with a brother. You don't have to blow something up. It don't have to be this big, long rites of passage program and you fly them to, South Africa, you go hunting together and then you go get king in Ghana, right? So just having a few minutes conversation with them, and it don't have to be every week, once a month, can make a huge difference in their lives. And so it wasn't until later in life actually that I began to mentor and realize that I have something that I can give back. And we want to encourage every brother at every stage in life to give back as often as they possibly can. So with that, yes, I do absolutely have a mentee now, and I will continue to have mentees and focus on that. And I will continue to evangelize for brothers at every stage in their life to get a mentee, because somebody can always learn from you.
Right. Wonderful. Marco, how has this being a part of this book impacted your life? And I'm going to assume that you're one of the younger ones.
Yeah, I'm 21. For me, it was an extraordinary thing to do because, as I mentioned earlier, in college, I majored in journalism. So this was right up my lane, right up my alley. So having the opportunity to do this was extremely humbling for me. And then having the ability, I know that this book will have an impact on young males, young, older, mid-age, whatever you want to call it. It will have an impact on all males around the world. So being able to be a part of something like this is extraordinary because I am a firm believer in servant leadership. As the Bible does say, the greatest among us shall be our servants. And I love serving people. I love giving to people in whatever way I have the ability to do that. And for me to be able to write and articulate what I think and give my opinion on something, there's not much I could really ask for. So I'm really grateful.
So you think you have grown into that man?
Absolutely. I mean, I believe that we're constantly evolving. I don't think that there will ever be a moment in time where I'll get to a place in my life and I'll think to myself, oh, I finally became like this man that I've always wanted to become. But I do think that this book has definitely helped me to progress, one as a professional, and then secondly, personally, because as I mentioned before, in me writing something based on authority, I now have to hold myself accountable to what I wrote down on paper. So it's one, yes, it's helped me to become a great professional and articulate myself well and explain myself. And then secondly, it's helping me personally, internally.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share from that about what, how did this book impact you in this journey?
Yeah, I think I'll go here. For me, outside of just knowing that we've come together and put our minds in a book that other people can benefit from, I also took it from a different perspective in this world that we're living in with racial injustice. The last murder case, I forgot the gentleman's name. The guy that the police
George
officer,
Floyd.
George Floyd. Yeah.
Yep.
And, what I noticed, especially on social media, in today's world, is there's just a lot of everyone having their own opinion on Facebook, whether right or wrong. But what I noticed was there are different character of people, right? You have the vocal people that are always going to speak out. You have the activists that are out there, pushing the change agenda. And then you have individuals that are making a change or making a difference, but we're not vocal in terms of going on Facebook to, argue with somebody or share, which is where I fall in place. So this project was an opportunity for me to say, hey, this is a way that I can also help in terms of saying that I'm also doing something or I'm also making a difference in our community. Not maybe per se being very vocal or being an activist or being in Washington, D.C., with other people walking, but in the silent moment, doing something in the background that I know definitely is going to impact other people to, really, really change their perspective. So that's where this book for me has come from, that I can still voice and make a change, in the conversation for the ones like me that are not vocal or out there, doing that whole activism, which I truly fully support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you said the young man that was killed, I was thinking of the most recent one, far past George Floyd. I think it's Dante Wright. in Minnesota. You know, we have had so many since then. So that was
Yeah.
last one that came to mind. But I hear you. I hear you. Yep. Yep.
I would speak on how it impacted me as well. There's two things that really kind of stuck out for me in doing this project. The first one, you know, which one would say, of course, too, but it really stuck out for me was that if you call them, they will come, right? So, you know, we called for Black men to come together and wrote a book, and they came. And just like Melvin said, that we're all soldiers in our own rights, and we play different roles, right? And just because someone is posting stuff on Facebook, or someone's on the front line and protesting, or someone's else in the courtroom passing legislation, or someone's politically, you know, doing some things in politics, we all play different roles. But it was encouraging that if you call them, these brothers will come, and they will, and we can come together and do something positive. So that was really powerful for me, because I think I do a lot of things sort of on my own a little bit. And that was another thing that we talked about in the book, that, you know, you kind of, as brothers, sometimes you don't always reach out and ask for help. We kind of like have this mentality of suck it up, do it yourself, and be strong. Where really, I think together we can go further. And one would say going alone you can go faster, but I actually think together we can go faster and further. And I think this book helped you know, put that in perspective and really show me what can't we do when we come together. So that was the first thing. The second thing that really kind of, you know, resonated with me about this particular project was just that I've been wanting to write a book for a very long time, and I probably, you know, like I probably wrote a chapter like 15 years ago. I got so much in me, right? But again, it's so overwhelming. But if you just take things in little pieces and chunks, again, things that obvious, things that I've taught on, things that I've mentored others about, you know, inch by inch is a cinch. How do you eat an elephant one little bite at a time? So we say these things, but in the execution of it, we don't always follow the very principles that we profess. And I think this book is a great example of us coming together and just taking a small piece and getting a huge project that's going to have a huge impact done. And so it encourages me to do other projects and go ahead and call more brothers together and do other projects where we can all just play a small part and have really multiplying returns from it. So those are the two things that really stuck out for me on this project.
Wonderful. Now, for our listening audience, how can they get a hold of this book? We've heard so much about this book, and I want to go get my copy yesterday. How do we get this book?
I can tell you the best way to get the book. And Melvin, do you have a specific URL that you want to give out? Otherwise, I'll give out the general one.
Just a general one.
Okay. So you can go to, and this is going to be very difficult, www.letusmakeaman.com. So www.letusmakeaman.com. I'm not going to spell it because it's so simple, right? You go there, you can order the book. Is it available on Amazon? Yes, it is. Is it available through Barnes & Noble? Yes, it is. But where do we want you to buy it from? We want you to buy it from www.letusmakeaman. We're more than happy to have you order it, ship it. Even on there too, if you so feel inspired by this book and you say, you know what, I want to get this book into 1,000 people's hands, you can actually donate on that website, which will be tax deductible to United Fund. I think I said that right. United Fund. And United Way, I'm sorry, United Way. And you can make a donation to United Way, and they will take your donation, it'll be tax deductible, and they will donate and make the book available to other people as well. So you can buy the book, or you can even make a donation on www.letusmakeaman.com.
And the cost?
It retails for $24.99.
Okay. So that's just 3 cups of coffee, right? Especially if you drink Starbucks. So for those of you who are listening, I want you to get up now before the end of this podcast and go and purchase a copy of this book. And then I want you to put it in the chat, I got mine. Okay, so we know. So please support these young men by going out and purchasing their book, Let's Make a Man.
And now we're going to, I know we're wrapping up right now. I don't know if you have any other questions, Wilma, but okay. So I just wanted real quick, one or two words from each of you, what you want the readers to get from this book, real quick before we end. Real fast, come on, we gotta go. Real quick, Melvin, start, go, kick it off. What do you want the reader to get?
Readers, mentorship.
Mentorship. Dr. Daniels?
I'll say insight and instruction.
Brother Marco?
Inspired to live life differently.
And last but not least, Mr. Anwar.
Roadmap to create a legacy.
Love it, love it, I love it, I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for being on and sharing about this book. It's really, I can't wait for Melvin to drop off my copy because I've seen him already. So I got my copy to put in the notes according to what Vilma said. So I thank you so much, guys, for coming on, and I thank you so much for sharing. And I know probably one of these days I'm going to say, Melvin, can you get these guys back on? Because sometimes we do a different show on different topics. So we will definitely call on you guys. And thank you so much. This is another episode of Life Chat. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.